What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to Talkin Sports with Jake. Hope we're all doing well. Hope everyone had a nice weekend. I hope everyone had a nice Father's Day. Let's start with some baseball scores. Orioles over the Cubs, 6-3. Orioles playing some really good baseball, 44-27 this year. I'll do some more standings talk, and we'll tell you go through these scores. Cubs continue to struggle. Braves over the Rockies, 14-6. The Marlins over the Nationals, 4-2. Red Sox sweep the doubleheader with the Yankees and sweep the three-game series with the Yankees. They take the first game of doubleheader 6-2, and the nightcap they take 4-1. Cardinals beat the Mets 8-7, 2 homers for Nolan Arenado, including the go-ahead home run on the top of the ninth. Mets continue to struggle. Angels beat the Royals 5-2. Reds beat the Astros 9-7. Reds have won 8 games in a row. They are on fire right now. Tigers beat the Twins 6-4. Brewers beat the Pirates 5-2. Texas Rangers over the Toronto Blue Jays 11-7. Phillies over the Athletics 3-2. Mariners over the White Sox 5-1. Guardians over the Diamondbacks 12-3. Giants over the Dodgers 7-3. Giants are hot. They just swept the Dodgers. The first time they swept the Dodgers, I think, since 2012. Played some really good baseball. They're ahead of the Dodgers in the standings now, the San Francisco Giants. And the Padres beat the Rays 5-4. The standings, American League East, that low division, Rays still in first place. They still have the best record in baseball, 51-24. Baltimore's 5 games out. Baltimore's been right there for most of the year. They've been within at least 6 or 7 games of the Rays, and the Rays are the best record in the league. Orioles playing really good baseball. Yankees 39-33. They're struggling with it. Just got swept by their arch rivals, the Boston Red Sox. They got a lot of injuries right now. They've had injuries in their bullpen all year. I think they got like 4 or 5 guys out. A lot of injuries in their lineup right now. Aaron Judge, of course, their superstar, is out. Harrison Bader is out, though he may be coming back tomorrow. They got a lot of guys who are underperforming. Giancarlo Stanton, who missed a lot of time. He hasn't played very well since he came back. Gio LeMahieu is having maybe the worst year of his career. And Josh Downs has not been very good. And you look at their pitching, their rotation's really banged up. Frankie Montas, we have not seen it at all this year. We may not see him at all. Probably not until at least September. Carlos Rodon is not throwing a single pitch. He got hurt in spring training. He's suffered setbacks trying to work his way back. But he did start rehab time recently. He should be back very soon. Luis Severino, they only got back maybe a month ago. He hasn't looked great. The Cortez is out now. He hasn't been that good when he's been healthy, so they have a lot of injuries. But hanging in there, 39-33 in the best division of baseball in third place. But the Blue Jays in fourth. They're half game behind the Yankees. They haven't quite lived up to the expectations this year. Toronto, obviously, Alec Manoah, their ace, had a year over 6. I sent him back to the minor leagues, all the way down to rookie ball, so they've had a bit of a tough time. The rotation actually hasn't been that bad. Jose Barros has had a bounce back year after a tough year last year. Kevin Goldson's been really good. Chris Bassett's been pretty good. Even Yusei Kikuchi's been okay. It's really been Alec Manoah's been the one problem. Bullpen's been okay. The lineup, though, has not been what we thought it was going to be. A lot of guys are underperforming. Alejandro Kirk has got an OPS of like 660-something. Even Vladi has been good, but not great. Dalton Varsho, who they brought in a big trade, hasn't been too good. He's only hitting like 225. Springer hasn't had a great year, so a lot of guys are underperforming in the lineup, but they're hanging in there. Red Sox in last place, 37-35. Boston Red Sox are 2 games over 500. They're in last place. If they were in the American League Central, they'd be in first place. That's how good that division is. How bad the American League Central division is. Let's talk about that right now. Twins are at 500, 36-36, and they're in first place. In second, the Guardians, who are 33-38. The Detroit Tigers are 10 games under 500 at 30-40, and they are in third place and only 5 games out. That's how bad that division is. The White Sox are 11 games under 500, 31-42, really struggling. And they're 5.5 games out in fourth place. And then the Kansas City Royals, 19-52. They have been absolutely atrocious. They have lost 9 straight games. Problem with them is their offense is absolutely pitiful. Maybe the worst lineup in the league. And their pitching staff isn't that much better. Second worst team in baseball. American League West, Texas Rangers continued. They're slipping a little bit, but picked up one yesterday, 44-27, still in first place. Angels playing really good baseball. They're actually in second place in the American League West, 4.5 games out of the division. at 41-33, 8 games over 500. So Angels finally are putting together something. You got the Houston Astros, who are slumping a little bit right now. 39-33, 5.5 games out of first. They don't have your all-star designated hitter, Jordan Alvarez. He's out at least a month with an oblique injury, and they've really missed him. Seattle is at 500 and 8.5 games out. They've been very inconsistent this year. Last year, of course, made the playoff for the first time since 2001. Had over 90 wins. This year have not really taken a step forward. In fact, they've taken a step back. They've really struggled offensively. They strike out. They have. I saw a stat it was maybe a couple of weeks ago. They have of the top 5 guys who have struck out the most for hitters in baseball. 3 or 4 of them were in Seattle. I think Julio Rodriguez was on my list. Teoscar Hernandez was on my list. So they struck out way too many times. And then the Oakland Athletics are in dead last in the major leagues. Of course, they were starting to put something together. Well, not really. They were 12-50, won 7 in a row. People are, what's going on? And then now they've lost 5 in a row. So they're back to being the Oakland A's that we all know. And more on the whole Oakland Vegas A's shortly. National League East, Atlanta Braves in first place, playing really well. 6 wins in a row for them. 20 games over 500. They have the best record in the National League. They're a great team. They're in first. Miami Marlins are 10 games over 500 at 41-31. And only 5 games out of first. They're playing really well. Luis Arias the other day, a few days ago, had a 5-8 game. He's hitting 390 this year. He's been absolutely incredible. That was a great trade. Sending starting pitcher Pablo Lopez to Minnesota for Arias. Marlins pitching's been great, and more on their pitching's been great. And Sandy Alcantara, who's the reigning Cy Young winner, hasn't even pitched well. He's got a year over 5 this year. Philly's been playing a lot better. They're 4 games over 500 at 38-34. They've won 6 in a row after a really tough start. They've had some injuries. Also, you got Harper back earlier than expected, but still he missed the first probably 5 or 6 weeks of the year. Reese Hoskins towards ACL in spring training. His replacement, I think, was Darvin Hall, and he got hurt. Talon Walker, you add to your rotation. You're hoping to help your rotation after 2 strong years with the Mets. Has not pitched well, but are finally putting it together. Mets 33-38. They're really struggling. As you know, I'm a big Mets fan. I've been very critical of them recently. They are really struggling. They lost 2 out of 3 of the Cardinals, who have been really bad this year. Pitching has just been absolutely terrible. However, they got Pete Alonso back. Expected to miss 3 to 4 weeks. Just 11 days later, he returns. And in last place is the Washington Nationals. Well, for a while, we're playing a little better than I expected. We're still in last place. That division's very competitive. But now they're kind of falling back into that, one of the worst teams in the league category. They're now back to 16 games under 500. National League Central, another not very good division. The Central Division has not been very good. Milwaukee Brewers are in first place. 37-34, 3 games over 500. But look out, the Cincinnati Reds are in second place in National League Central, just a half game out of first place. Right, they've won 8 games in a row. They're 37-35. They're a really good young squad. Also, this kid, Elvin Santos, has been really electrifying since he came up. He claimed he's the fastest man in the world. He might be the fastest guy in baseball, honestly. He is lightning quick. You got this kid, Matt McClain, at second base, who's played really well. They've gotten some pretty good pitching, especially out of the bullpen. Alexis Diaz, their closer, has been outstanding. They're playing really good baseball right now. Pirates are at only 2.5 out. Pirates are strong. They've lost 6 in a row. Still only 2 games under 500. Have been better than we thought. What's been nice to see is Andrew McCutcheon's had a nice year for them, coming back to, of course, where it all started. Against the Mets a little over a week ago, he got his 2,000th career hit, which was nice. The Cubs have not had a good year. Only 33-38, playing a little bit better. Only 4 games out of that division. The Cardinals have been really bad this year. 29-43. Their pitching has been absolutely horrible. But they picked up a series win over the Mets. They take 2 out of 3, snap a 6-game losing streak. I mean, for a team to be 14 games under 500, be 8.5 out of first, you would think they'd be at least 10 or 12 games out of the first. That's how bad that division is. in National League West. Arizona Diamondbacks are in first place in the division. They've had a great year, 43-29. The San Francisco Giants are red hot. They've won 7 games in a row, just swept the Dodgers for the first time in 11 years. They were 7 games over 500. They're now in second place in that division. Dodgers fall to third in that division at 39-33. So if you saw over the weekend, they had I forgot his name, but they had a guy in his first career start, 6 no-hit innings, and they took him out. That's crazy. Padres are in fourth. Padres are a game under 500, playing a little bit better. Been playing well recently. At one point, they were like 4 or 5 games under 500. I picked them to win the World Series this year, and they've been very mediocre. Trying to come out of the hole. In fourth place, a game under 500, 7.5 games out of first. Then the Rockets have been as been bad as we thought. 29-45 in last place, buried in National League West. So there is, when it comes to hockey, the New Jersey Devils extend Jesper Bratt 8 years, $63 million. Bratt's a really good young player, and Devils locked him up. Timo Meyer's going to arbitration. They picked him up at the trade deadline, gave up a lot to get him. He's a really good player. And I doubt Devils want to lose him for nothing after giving up what they gave up to get him at the trade deadline. So my guess is that they will extend him, give him a long-term extension. But those two are going to arbitration, Meyer and the Devils. And the Vancouver Canucks bought out Oliver Ekman-Larsson. Very defenseman, had 4 years left on his deal. You know, they brought him in. They took him on in a trade from Arizona a couple of years ago. Basically, just like that was basically the thing. Just they took on his contract and that traded with Arizona. And he's been okay. He was at one point a really good young defenseman in Arizona. He got a big deal and hasn't really been the same since. So he will be a free agent. On to basketball, there's a lot of stuff going on in the NBA. Rookies point guard John Morant has been suspended for 25 games. Of course, during the season, he was seen at a nightclub after a game, and he flashed a gun on Instagram Live. And a couple of months later, a few weeks back, he did it again, this time in his car. He was in his car with, I guess, one of his friends or something. And you only saw it for about half a second, but you could see that he did it again. And the Grizzlies suspended him right away. NBA suspended him for 25 games. He's got certain things he's got to do before he comes back. And I know some people are saying it's excessive, but I think it's very appropriate. Ja's got to get himself together. He is so talented. And when he's out there, he's, I would say, one of the 10 best players in the league right now. Has the potential to do so many great things in the NBA. And I really hope that the Memphis Grizzlies and the NBA and especially his father, T. Morant, who's always at the Grizzlies home games, always there courtside, gets him some help because he needs it. And if he can get himself right, this is his chance to be one of the greatest redemption stories in NBA history. He's got a chance to be one of the all-time greats. So I hope Ja gets the help that he needs. Here in the Chicago Bulls are looking to trade Zach LaVine. They're quietly shopping him. Bulls, I think you need to do a little bit of retooling. Last year, you took a bit of a step forward. They were, I think they ended up making the playoffs as like the 6th seed, or maybe they got the first playing spot. When they were healthy, I thought they were like 1 point lead in the East, and then they kind of fell. And then this year, took a step back. And I know Alex Caruso didn't bounce some injuries that not Caruso. Lonzo Ball didn't play the whole season, and I don't think he ever plays again. But I heard there was some tension with LaVine and DeRozan, and also LaVine's a really good player, but I think he'll be a guy like if it's too like the Bulls where he's like the de facto number one option. I guess he puts up 24, 25 points a game, but the team's not going to have a lot of success. If you put him on a team where he can be like a number 2 to a star player, that team automatically becomes one of the better teams in the league and possibly a title contender. So I wouldn't be a bad idea to trade him, to be honest. Danilo Gallinari opts into his player option worth $6.8 million with the Boston Celtics. He didn't play last year. I think he tore his Achilles playing for his country in the offseason. They probably thought, all right, I haven't played in the year. I don't want to test the market, so he'll play for the Celtics next year. He's a little older, but still a very good player. Good good shooter. He's a good veteran forward to have on your bench. Michael Jordan has sold the Charlotte Hornets. He no longer owns them. He sold his majority stake to Gabe Plotkin and Rick Schnall. I think those two. One of those guys was already a minority owner in the Charlotte Hornets, and I think the other guy is he's a minority owner of the Atlanta Hawks. When Jordan first bought the team back in 2010, he bought the team for $275 million, and he just sold the team for $3 billion. So he did not have a lot of success. Charlotte not even win a single playoff series in 13 years as under Jordan as the owner. That being said, he did make 11 times. He sold it for 11 times more than what he bought it for. So return on investment, he did well. Everything else, not so much. But he has sold the team. He is no longer the majority owner. We'll see what Charlotte does. Of course, they got a second pick. They brought in Brandon Miller and Scoot Henderson, the two guards, who they're deciding between for a visit. Draft is this Thursday. See what they do. Mike Dunleavy has been promoted to the general manager of the Warriors. I think he was the vice president of basketball operations the last 2 years. If Bob Myers stepping down, he has been promoted. We'll see what the Warriors do. Draymond Green has opted out of his deal. $27.5 million player option. He declined it. He'll be an unrestricted free agent. Dunleavy says that they want him back. We'll see what they do. He says I'm hearing he wants to keep Jordan Poole. Doesn't want to trade him. So we'll see what the Warriors do. I honestly would probably trade Poole. I still think he's honestly all that great. I think they kind of jumped the gun with the extension. He might need a fresh start, especially with all the stuff happening with Draymond. If he might be coming back, and I probably move up from Draymond too. I think he's still a very good defender, but not what he once was, and he can't give anything offensively anymore. He's not the same player. Always getting in trouble. You saw what he did. He got suspended for a game in the first round against the Kings. I move on. I'd even look to trade Clay. I don't think Clay's worth $43 million anymore. So we'll see what happens. When it comes to college basketball, San Diego State is leaving the Mountain West. We'll see what conference they join. Back to NBA. Kyle Kuzma here is expected to opt out. He had a very good year for Wizards this year. So we'll see what he does. Speaking of the Wizards, they have traded Bradley Beal. And they also included a late thing I just heard that Isaiah Ty, who's a G League player, they're including him in the deal. Beal goes to the Phoenix Suns. In return, the Suns give the Wizards Chris Paul, Landry Shamet, multiple second-round picks, and multiple pick swaps. I think Bradley Beal's a really good player, but I think he's a really poor fit for the Phoenix Suns. The Suns are a team, you already had two ball-dominant stars in Kevin Durant and Devin Booker, but they didn't have a lot of depth, and they don't play any defense. And then you bring another ball-dominant guy in Beal, another guy who's injury-prone, just like Kevin Durant is, and even Devin Booker from time to time. Another guy who doesn't play any defense, and you give up even more depth, sending Chris Paul and Landry Shamet the other way. To me, this is not a good fit, and I don't think it's going to work. When Durant and Beal get hurt, which I think is almost inevitable, especially for Kevin Durant, probably in this extended absence, they're going to be in trouble because they have no depth. Even somewhat noble guys on their bench. You have Cameron Payne. He's a pretty good backup point guard. You have, I guess, Torrey Craig, who really isn't that good. Dario Saric, who's okay. And then you have... I think Jock Landale, the backup center, or something like that. We're actually going to have Bill come on to the mic on my Twitter page. He's going to call in. So, Bill, how's it going?
Well, good to be here. Hope that all's going well. Yeah, I always wonder when teams double down in situations like this, and I get the whole window argument. The time is now. Strike while the iron is hot. Blah blah blah. But we've seen it revealed in the playoffs over and over again. And this past year was a reminder that having 1, 2, even 3 superstars, if you don't have the ability to, 1, be able to spell them, 2, deal with injury, and then 3, be able to roll fresh players at guys who are getting tired, middle of the third quarter and things like that, when you can take advantage of the fact that a team as you just pointed out, not exactly a bunch of defensive stalwarts already.
Yeah.
You add fatigue on top of that, they're going to have some teams' second and third and fourth options go for 25, 30, 35 points over sometimes.
Yeah, like, look, I think Biden's a great player, and I'm glad he's not in Washington anymore, because he's a guy who, as a number one, he'll put up some nice numbers, but your team's not going to win that many games. But as a number two, I think he's an excellent option. But like you said, Bill, it to me doesn't make a ton of sense. The Suns have had problems in recent years. Obviously losing the finals a couple of years ago. Then a couple of years ago they had the league's best record, losing the second round, then losing the second round again. Obviously something's not right. So you get Chris Paul out of there. You make the coaching change. But just having three guys there that all need the ball, we've seen over and over again. We saw it happen in Brooklyn. We saw it happen with the Lakers. It doesn't work, and they really have no depth now.
I mean, you just mentioned Jordan Poole.
Mm-hmm.
He would make more sense. One is he wouldn't be quite as costly.
Uh-huh.
Two, he's not a lockdown defender, but he gives good effort. He's I would say slightly above average defender, and he's cheaper.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I guess money doesn't matter, but to them in the situation, but they gave up quite a bit.
Yeah,
and it's going to be a challenge. I mean, So is Beal going to be the number two ball handler now? Is he going to basically be? Because if Booker is going to be a primary ball handler, right?
Yeah,
which
I would assume, yeah,
right. And he's also probably the best perimeter defender you have, also, which is not ideal.
No,
that means he's expending an enormous amount of energy, and he's going to pick up fouls.
Yep.
And now you're saying, I guess, Bradley Beal, hey. We're going to occasionally have to move because of that. Move both off the ball. Now you're bringing the ball up on offense, and you still can't expect him to magically become a better defender just because they need
right. Yeah,
he magically gets better at it. So now you have to find another player who's going to play for, I'm guessing, I don't know, coupons, parking validation. I mean, like they don't have room to find any of the top tier defenders.
No.
So they're going to have to find somebody. I'm guessing guys are going to come up from G League or, college free agents. I mean, it's going to be an interesting. Look at the Rams roster, right? Where
exactly.
Right. In football, where it's like 3 or 4 really expensive superstars and a bunch of guys who are drafted in like the 5th rounds and later.
Yeah.
Drafted free agents.
Yeah, because they don't have any money.
That's what they're about to be, right? The whole F them picks thing only works for so long because at some point you've F'd your roster.
Exactly. Yeah, like, look, the Rams got a championship out of it, but then you saw only a year later, they go out, they win 5 games, and they're like, crap, this team sucks, and we have no money and no picks to improve it, so that's why they had to get rid of all the pieces of that they did, and the Suns, they haven't even won a championship, I don't know if ever. I mean, they lost to Jordan in the 90s, they've come up short quite a few times, and now, they can get a first round pick. I mean, that I don't know if the swaps are like first round swaps. They didn't really specify, but you gave up that a couple of players, Chris Paul and Shamet, who Paul's obviously at the end of his career. He's 38 years old, and Shamet's not the scariest option, but still these are 2 guys who could at least be decent depth pieces that you move to Washington for a team that already had no depth. That was one of the main reasons they only got to game 6 of the second round this year. To me, it doesn't make a ton of sense.
Yeah, well, they're paying themselves in quite a corner, so it looks like they
did.
I mean, if they don't win a championship this year, and I don't think they will, there's going to be rightfully a lot of people who are going to poke holes in this deal. Yeah,
you gotta, that could affect Durant's legacy. Like, he can't win without all these superstars. You're going to start looking at, and also like they just brought in Frank Vogel as their head coach. Like he's a defensive minded coach, and he's going to be, and that team is headlined by 3 guys who don't play a ton of defense. Durant's not a bad defender, but he's obviously there to be an elite scorer. Booker's an elite defender. Beal really doesn't defend. Like you saw what happened in LA. Vogel had LeBron James, who we all know what LeBron can do, but at that point LeBron was 37 years old, not quite the same. Anthony Davis was always battling injuries, which has definitely affected them. Russell Westbrook obviously didn't fit there, and really had no depth and had no picks or money to bring in other guys, and you saw what happened there. I'm just worried it's going to be a similar situation for Vogel in Phoenix.
Right, and I mean, you mentioned injuries.
Mm-hmm.
If anybody of that three gets hurt,
oh yeah,
oof,
good luck.
oof, it's going to be oof. So, and they're in a very tough situation.
Yeah,
because it doesn't look like the Nuggets are going anywhere.
Nope.
I won't be shocked if the Jazz are better next year.
Mm-hmm.
The Kings
Yeah,
team put them in the right direction.
definitely.
The Warriors are at a crossroads. They
Yeah.
might be headed for a rebuild, or they might try to patch it together and make one more run.
Mm-hmm.
But I can't find a convincing argument putting them above the fourth spot right now.
I agree, yeah. You look, obviously, we don't know what's happening in the draft or free agency, but you just look on paper, like the Nuggets should be just as good. The only guy who might not come back is Bruce Brown. He's got the player option. You look, Sacramento, we could get better. I mean, that team's really young. You look at, if the Clip, you don't know what's going on with in either LA team. The Lakers have a lot of moving parts. Clippers, we don't know about the health of the two guys there. I think the Thunder could jump into the postseason just because they get Chet back. All the young guys they got, they'll bring in some more young guys probably in the draft. And we don't know what's going to happen, but I agree. It's hard to put them above the fourth seed right now. I mean, they finished with the fourth seed last year. And, I don't know how much better they truly are just because, I think Beal's a poor fit there. And like you said, if one of those guys goes down, I mean, if Durant goes down, is Torrey Craig going into the lineup now? Like, what are you going to do?
So, yeah, like I said, they better win it.
Exactly, yeah.
Because I don't think this extends their window. Beal is young-ish,
Mm-hmm.
so there's that. But defending big players, I don't have to tell you, they've got to somehow overcome a team that can roll 4 6'10" versatile players at you out of 5.
Yeah.
Literally, the Nuggets can put 4 guys on the floor at the same time who are 6'10" or taller.
Yeah.
Who defends them?
I have no idea.
I mean, Bradley Beal on a good day is 6'3.5".
I guess, yeah.
Something like 6'2.25".
Mm-hmm.
You have some height in Durant, but as you pointed out, he's not really an interior defender. He can come over from the weak side and swat a shot.
Mm-hmm.
He can come out on a smaller guy and kind of loom over him and things like that. He moves his feet reasonably well for a tall guy, but he's not a post defender by stretch.
No.
He's not a real rim protector. And smaller, quicker guys, he just has to pass them off. He can't, stay with them long term. So, I'm trying to think of how would you defend a team like the Nuggets with the current composition of the roster?
They really can't. I mean, they couldn't in the playoff series. That's why Denver beat them in 6. While they blew them out of their own building in Game 6, and if they meet again in the postseason, I wouldn't be surprised if Denver beat them out of Phoenix again.
Right. So that's what I'm saying. I don't see. They may have made their team more entertaining.
Yeah.
I could see that. I did think more entertaining than it was last year. But I just don't see. You mentioned it earlier. The playoffs are something a little different from the regular season.
Of course, yeah.
And you've got to beat good teams multiple times back to back to back to back to back.
Yeah.
And when a team has distinct structural advantages, right? Mm-hmm. They have more players who can do more different things. They have more size. And just like I said, things can change, but as of now, they're still in the number 4 spot in the West for me.
I agree, yeah. Obviously, it depends what happens in free agency, but also the Suns really have no money to bring in anybody else. I was watching ESPN and Brian Windhorst was saying they have a $5 million trade exception, but they have no draft picks. So who are you trading? You can bring somebody in, but you got to give up. Now, you might have to give up like another player. So I'm not even sure if it's worth doing now. They've already given up so many players. You give up Cam Johnson and Bridges to get Durant, and then you give up Paul and Shamet to get Beal. So, I don't know. Do you trade Ayton maybe? I don't know. I mean, Ayton's nothing scary, but he's really the only guy who's protecting the rim right now. I don't know. We got somebody else who's coming on here. We got invite him on as well, and we can have a kind of a three-way conversation here. Pushing 30s his Twitter name. But yeah, I'm not really sure what they're gonna do.
Well, what they're gonna do is I think you just answered your question. They're gonna get damaged when they get to the playoffs by the team.
Pushing 30 up. How's it going?
It's going pretty good. I just came in for y'all Phoenix stuff. I think Phoenix has to give up Aiden. There's no ifs, ands, or buts. Like they gotta chop that up for the game and just trade them to get like more pieces. Even if it looks like a DeAndre Hopkins trade, like something ridiculous, like you still gotta do it.
They might have to. I don't know.
I don't even disagree with you, but one, who is going to make that deal? Like on the other end, because everybody can say we need to make a trade, but somebody has to also trade with you.
Yeah, I'm also split with that as well because I agree with you. Like you need because they need to bring in they need some sort of bench in case one of these guys gets hurt, and it's probably going to happen. Durant, ever since the Achilles injury like 4 years ago, is getting hurt every year. Beal gets hurt a lot. Even Booker the last couple of years has gotten nicked up. So maybe you trade Ayton, even if it's a couple of draft picks. Maybe you and then now at least use those picks to get somebody. But again, does that even help? Are you do you take those picks and bring in another big guy to replace him? So it's very, very complicated. But Suns put themselves in a really tough spot.
So go ahead. No, go ahead. I was going to ask you a question anyway. I was going to say that it's either that or and this is going to be a controversial thing, but they should try and look at Miles Bridges.
Ooh, interesting.
He's going to take a pay cut. He's going to take a pay cut because he just was out of the league for a year. He's very cheap. He plays pretty good defense. Right. He's a spark plug. He runs up and down the court. And he needs somewhere to get a shot after this whole DB case. So that's the only they could trade A for something, pick up Miles Bridges for like a cheap 1 year, and then build upon that. Pick up some D-League players and hopefully coach can coach. I don't even hate that, but okay, let's say you get the Detroit Pistons on the line. Let's just throw a team out there. They've got a lot of young pieces. So let's say you get the Pistons on the line. Who are you going to ask for, and who realistically do you think the Pistons would actually give you for 8? I don't even know who's on the Detroit Pistons roster. Well, that's a good place.
They do have a lot of big guys. The Pistons, I don't know. Would they give you one of them?
So I'm going to walk through their roster real quick.
Okay.
I'm just thinking of a team that might look for a veteran rim protector in exchange for giving up young pieces, because there's only certain teams that are going to be willing to, give. I mean, teams that are right close to contending probably have their version of DeAndre Ayton for the few exceptions. Most of them have that or somebody like that. Okay, so. Let's just say we're talking about a young team that we think might be willing to give up some of the young pieces. I mentioned the Pistons. Killian Hayes, right? Is that someone you want? Let me see. Who else might you like?
I wonder. They have so many centers. They have like 4 centers. Will they give you? I don't think they give up Duran because they just took him in the first round. But would they give you like Isaiah Stewart maybe?
Right, that's a possibility. Right. So Isaiah Stewart is a guy you might ask for. They're probably not giving you Bagley the third. Maybe you can pry loose somebody like James Wiseman. Right, possibly.
Wiseman, it depends how. Yeah, they only give up second round picks for him, so maybe they're like, all right, they're like Aiton. Yeah, that's another possibility.
Right. Bogdanovich. Is that
yeah.
Again. So realistically, in exchange for Aiton and maybe some sort of sweetener, could you get back Wiseman? That's a legitimate question.
Mm-hmm. That's
they do have
possible.
I mean, Wiseman is 22 and still getting better. And ironically enough, for those of you who may know this already, he played in a youth league, AU, that was sponsored by Bradley Beal.
Oh wow, really? That's funny.
Believe it or not.
That's funny.
Believe it or not, when he was growing up, he was coming up. I guess he was, I don't know, was 15, 16, something like that. He actually played. Well, let's see, how old is he now? He's 22 now, so 2017 would be 6 years ago. 16. Wow. So he was 16. He played on a team called the Brad Beal Elite, believe it or not.
Wow, that's interesting. So maybe Beal has some familiarity. I don't know if he just sponsored it. I'm sure he was involved, obviously, somehow. So maybe he has some familiarity with Wiseman, which I guess helps.
Can't hurt.
Yeah, exactly. Their Suns are not in a great position right now. They need all the help they can get.
So that would give them a young, ascending player who, while he may never be a superstar, I think is going to be a really solid center who is a legit rim protector.
Mm-hmm.
And I think still has upside to get an offensive player.
Yeah, I've always liked Wiseman. He kind of was in a tough spot in Golden State because he was a top pick. Usually you play right away, and of course he didn't play that much because Golden State, was a rare occasion. You have a top pick, and then that year you're already a contender because obviously the year before all the guys were out and Durant left and stuff. And then he had some injuries, but I thought he played a little. I liked what I saw in Detroit. He made some strides, nothing crazy, but he's a guy still really, really young that I think could be a very good player.
Yep.
Yeah, so Suns are in a bit of a tough spot. I heard the Wizards are going to try to flip Chris Paul. I heard the Clippers are looking at him. Maybe they bring him back. That'll be interesting. They can use a point guard. I don't know how much Chris Paul can give you anymore, though.
Right.
I feel like he can still be like a decent, maybe number 2 point guard. Maybe he's an okay starter, but he obviously won't give you what he used to give you. So we'll see what they do with that. You got Lou Williams announced retirement after 17 seasons, 3-time Sixth Man of the Year.
Yep.
He's retired. I heard the Pacers.
Beautiful ladies all around the nation.
That's right, in the bubble. That was crazy. He said, what he said? He went to like a club to get an order of wings or something.
Well, he explained that that's why he went to the club.
He may have went there for something. He may have ordered wings. He may have went there for some other reason as well.
Who knows what wings is, slang? I'm with you. Yeah.
I heard that Indiana Pacers, I read, are looking to possibly trade a 7th pick for a big time wing, like an impact wing player. They could probably use another wing, and then they have Halliburton there. You have Miles Turner over there. They have a bunch of young guys. So we'll see what they do. Draft, of course, Thursday night. Jumping over to college, Bob Huggins, bit of a more on the somber side. He got arrested for a DUI, then he actually stepped down in West Virginia. He's had some off the court issues. The second DUI, actually, he had another one in 2004, almost 20 years ago, coaching Cincinnati. He made some inappropriate comments on a podcast a while back. He was in some hot water with that. And now this, I'm not sure. Part of me thinks West Virginia was like, dude, we can't keep you around if you keep doing this, but they allowed him to say that he resigned because he's been there so long. I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, he's already in the Hall of Fame. He's been there since like '07, I think. Been there a long time. But he just stepped down at West Virginia, so that's what happens when you do do stuff like that. That's how you ruin your career. And Huggins is out at West Virginia, and his college basketball career is probably over, considering his age and just now his reputation is tarnished.
Right.
You got I mean, not tarnished. I mean, he's already in the Hall of Fame. You can't take that away from him. He's still one of the greatest college basketball coaches of all time. But unfortunately, that's a small blemish on his record. Unfortunate for Mr. Huggins. I'm hearing Dylan Brooks might get $17 to $18 million a year. That's something that I read. That was interesting. I'm not sure if I would pay Dylan Brooks $17 million a year. I don't think I'd do that. He's a good defender, but he also was a bit of a distraction. Yeah, Fred VanVleet in here might get over $30 million a year. If he opts out of this deal, I doubt he goes back to Toronto. And this is big. I'm hearing Zion could be traded before the draft by the Pelican. That's an interesting one. Obviously, we know what he can do. He's on the court, but he's only played 36% of the games in, I think, 4 years.
Right. So you've got to find, once again, how do you find a dance partner? You got to find a team that thinks he's the piece that's a step away from them being a contender. They have to have a spot for him because he's essentially in a era of positionless basketball. He's a guy who's very position specific, right? He's not one of those guys that can play 3 or 4 different roles.
No,
he's essentially a sort of old-fashioned power forward in a, like 5 technique body.
Yeah.
So, and that is one of the great questions about his durability. Being 284-ish pounds, conducive to, because, I mean, even with Charles Barkley, he got up to 272 at one point. He got down to 248 for much of his career.
Yeah, he was a lot thinner than what he is now.
Yeah, right, exactly. But I mean, he got booted from his tryouts for the Olympic team because he'd gotten so, well, for lack of a word, everybody get grotesque looking in his uniform.
Yeah.
Bob Knight ran him off the court. He said, "Get out of here, you fat bleepity bleep." And wouldn't even really let him try out for the team because he just was so disgusted with how Charles looked. And that's what really spurred him to start getting in power condition. Then after that, after his first couple years in the league, he realized that he wanted to be the player he wanted to be. He had to even work harder. And he hired, was it Mackie Shilstone, I think, to start working with him, who used to be, what's his name's trainer? Michael Spinks.
Wow, interesting.
Trainer. Yeah. It's funny the things you remember.
Wow, it's a good story.
But yeah, that's why he shaped his body. And though he just isn't meant to ever be a thin or ripped up.
Yeah.
He was not really in his genetics, but he got in much better shape.
Yes, he was.
People don't give him credit for it. Even Nikola is in better shape.
Yeah, he was definitely. We've all seen the pictures of him when he was younger.
He's never going to be shredded. Like, that's just not in the cards for him, genetically speaking. But you can look at him early in his career and be like, oh, yeah, he's more solid now.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, that's the question.
Yeah, it was like the last 2 years of Jokic's shape. And the last 2 years, he started coming into camp in shape instead of being in shape.
Yeah, absolutely.
100%. Yeah. He used to do the thing that Serena Williams used to do is play his way into shape. Like Serena used to do. She used to come, come into the, you can see like her body change during the season. And then later in her career, she realized I can't get away with that anymore. And that's the thing with, and not that Zion is like obese or anything. I mean, he's not in terrible shape, but because of his body type, he's got to be careful.
Yeah. He obviously we saw him a couple of years ago when he was injured. He missed the whole year. You saw him. He just clearly was a lot bigger than, what he was at Duke. He clearly, wasn't, not that he was out of shape, but he just wasn't really taking care of his body a way a professional NBA player should. And I don't think that helped. Obviously he was trying to work, he was trying to get back, and he had like a quad injury or something. I just don't think that boded well at all for that. And he ended up missing the whole year. And he's got to make sure he takes care of himself. He's obviously not been able to stay on the court. And if he had the whole thing, which I didn't really like at the end, like when the planes were coming up, and they asked me, are you going to play? He was like, oh, well, I'm healthy enough. Like, I don't feel like Zion yet. And that whole thing was just like, okay, dude, like, either play or don't play. And then there's a report saying that he has no relationship with the Pelicans and very little relationship with his teammates. Maybe the coaching staff and the front office is tired of his act, and his teammates are even more tired of his act. Maybe the front office is more tired. While they have these teammates have something with him, but not much. But yeah, it'll be interesting. We know what he can do when he's healthy. Like you said, Bill, he's a power forward, but he basically has like a center body. He's obviously a big guy. I mean, he's an athletic freak, but if he can't stay on the court, and Portland doesn't, and not Portland, New Orleans doesn't think he can stay on the court, they should probably trade him.
The athletic freakiness actually works against him, right? Because
yeah.
I'm very, very old. So I remember Wes Unseld had a very similar build, but he was not super athletic. He was strong as Knox. And so he wasn't putting the same sort of, I mean, I want to get into, physics, but if you jump 3.5 feet in the air and you're 284 pounds and you come down over and over and over again, unless you are in peak condition in terms of your joints and things like that, and you really work on your flexibility, at some point something goes pow, right? Something let's go. And that's always been my fear for him. That's my fear for him when I watched him in high school, where he was just this incredible dominant freak.
Yeah.
But I said to myself, he was a good 260 or close to it then. They were listing him as taller, though. They listed him at 6'8" or 6'9". It's like, that guy's not 6'8" or 6'9". I mean, I've been doing this a long time, and I can tell. But, I mean, you could still, as impressive as it was, I kept thinking impact. As I watched him dunk all over everybody, I kept thinking, ooh, a lot of impact. And he, hasn't gotten lighter, obviously. So something's got to give. And I mean, look even at and this is a guy who's not nearly as heavy, but look at how explosive a guy like Blake Griffin was.
Oh, yeah. Oh, my God.
Right? I mean, we hadn't seen a guy that size play quite like that since maybe Larry Nance, the original Larry Nance, OG Larry Nance, for those who don't remember him. Who was like this incredibly explosive, but he was thinner. He was even thinner, but he was about the same height, but a little thinner. And it was so fun to watch, but predictably, parts of his lower body were like, ooh, I don't like all this. Right? The jumping squat is the landing that's the problem. I just worry that if his game doesn't become a little more ground bound, he's going to start to break down.
Yeah, I mean, you saw all the injuries that he's had, and I've had some concerns with him when when he was at Duke. I'm not sure if you remember. I think it was against North Carolina. Like his shoe just like completely broke on, and his shoe like blew up. I'm thinking to myself, this guy's own shoe can't even survive him. When he's like going up for a dunk all the time in the NBA, he's coming down. Like you said, just like over and over again. 284 or 280 pound guy coming down. Like are his legs going to be? Will his legs hold up for him? I don't know if they will. And so far, they haven't. It'll be very interesting to see what happened to Zion. I heard the Blazers would rather Zion over Brandon Ingram. That might. At this point, Portland's just trying to appease Damian Lillard just to keep him in Portland. So Damian Zion and a healthy Zion would be really, really exciting. But if Zion can get his act together, that could also run Dame out of Portland, possibly. So they got to see. We'll see what happens with that. I'm hearing the Warriors do want to keep Draymond Green. He opted out of his deal. That's a team I feel like they might be better off not keeping him. I think they should need to retool around Stephen Curry. Also, you got a new GM. Well, you promoted within the organization and Mike Dunleavy, so we'll see what they do. But Warriors got a very important offseason. What happened to Draymond and Poole and Clay and all these guys.
Am I the only one that feels like Clay would rather retire or getting traded to a bum team?
I mean, I feel like all those guys. I think Steph, Clay, and Draymond would all much rather stay a Golden State Warrior. I mean, Steph obviously is one of the all-time greats. Clay, I believe, is a Hall of Famer. I'm not sure if Draymond's a Hall of Famer, but you can make the argument he's a really good player. He's won 4 championships. They don't need to ring chase. They don't need to prove anything to anybody. But yeah, I think they would much rather stay in Golden State. I would be shocked if they wanted or would rather a change of scenery. I don't really think they would. They'd want that, especially Klay Thompson or Draymond Green. And that's what's up.
Oh, I was going to say that it all comes down to how much money, right? I mean,
Yeah.
Draymond turned down 27.5. So the question is, who would give him 29? I mean, if it's literally 28, are you telling me you're going to leave for half?
Yeah,
Which to you and I sounds like money, because if someone said $500,000 to me, I'd be like, oh, yes, please, where can I
right,
get that?
exactly.
But for Draymond, who's made a decent amount of money in his life, I'm guessing he's not going to uproot his entire life for $500,000.
I can't imagine, yeah.
So I'm assuming we're talking about somebody who's going to give him at least 29 per year. I'm thinking probably 30, but who would be the team that says we've got 30 million or at least close to it for Draymond per year?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, he's on the wrong side of 30.
Yep.
No, he's still a good defender, but I wouldn't say he's quite the same defender he once was.
He's no longer a top 5 or even top 10 defender. He's a top 20 defender.
Probably. Yeah, he's one of the better defenders in the league, but not at the top of the league anymore. Can't give you anything offensively anymore. He used to be able to at least give you like 12 or 14 in a game. Can't even do that anymore. So, I mean, if you look at like where he fits, like I think he fit in Phoenix, but we already had a whole conversation about that. Where is Phoenix finding the money now that they brought in Bradley Beal? I have no clue. So I don't really think they have the money for him. You just look around the league. Who needs like a defender that would come in and defend and
so who needs a 6'6" guy who can't really score, is a decent passer. In fact, that's above average passer. But can't really score. Can no longer defend as many different positions. He can't defend point guards really anymore.
No.
Like, that's done. He can defend some big guards, most small forwards, and some power forwards.
Right. And
as you said, even unless it's a wide open jumper or a layup, probably not going to score for you. So that team, and he wants to go to a contender.
Right.
What contender says we got to have that guy?
I don't know. Exactly 30 million, unless he'll take like 25 on like a 4-year deal. But also, are you giving Draymond Green 4 years? I don't know if you are.
I mean, once again, remind people, NBA money is guaranteed money. This is not the NFL.
Right, yeah.
To get them over the hump, let's see.
Yeah, it's tough.
The Bucks say we've got 2 years.
Right.
That was off the top of my head, but did they say we've got 2 years, 60 mil for you, which now means that we're out of the free agent market for everybody else?
Yeah. Exactly, and they got Chris Middleton got the $40 million option. I believe Brooke is a free agent, or like or maybe they might move him. I think they want to keep him. Like, so if like you're choosing between Brooke Lopez and Draymond, if you're Milwaukee, are you picking Draymond over Brooke Lopez? But so yeah, and like he's not going to go to like the Orlando Magic. Like he's going to go to a team that's close to a championship, I would think.
That's my point. I mean, moving the point of going to the Orlando Magic is to maybe get the 30, which if I understand, $30 million, but if that's what you say, if you say, I want $30 million, that's the goal. Because like I said, why would you leave for $500,000?
Yeah.
So $1.5 million per year, that moves the needle at least a little bit.
Hey, Lo, Bill and Jake, do you ever think that, and this is what I assumed for Draymond slightly, but I wasn't too sure. I remember LeBron used to always freaking opt out on his extension, opt out of his deal, just so they could sign somebody and reconstruct his shit back to the team. Now, do you think Draymond is opting out to see what trades or anything to do with Jordan Poole and everybody, and then work to get with another big player on that team to come there?
I think that's a possibility. I also think that he wants to see what the market is for Draymond Green.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think I can see it's a little bit of both. He's like, all right, he obviously was like we said, we talked about, or a bit of a crossroads. This team isn't quite the same team that won the 4 championships. So he might see, what happens to Poole, what happens to Clay, what does the new GM do? And you might want to see, will someone give him a really good offer that's good enough for him to consider leaving? So we shall see what he does, but he is now a free agent, and I heard that they want to keep him. I know Dunleavy says he wants to keep him. I heard he say he wants to keep Poole, but after they also got into a fight last year, and after the season, Poole said, it did honestly affect us a little bit. He said their relationship was just kind of like okay. So I don't know if can those two even work together. So I don't know. We'll see.
Well, I mean, winning cures a lot of issues.
Yes, it does.
If this team wins, they get to keep it together. Maybe they find a young piece once again. I keep thinking of the Pistons or somebody like that. Get Vancouver, get the teams that have a lot of young pieces that aren't quite coalesced yet, right? They aren't quite ready, but they may be looking for a veteran, looking for something, and they might give up on those young pieces. There's a handful of teams in that situation. But you got to figure out, well, one, which young piece you want, and then we'll actually give it up. They're not trying to help you. It's not their goal. They want to win. Most teams want to win, or at least come out even when they make a deal, not trying to help you. And that's another team, I think, that needs to make some phone calls. And I'm sure they are. I'm sure that the Warriors are making some phone calls to see what the marketplace is or some of the players that they may move on from. But more importantly, what can they get back? Because they also need to bring back. This team needs to get more athletic. That's what jumped out at me when I watched Golden State this year versus some of the past teams. This is a less athletic team than it was 2 years ago.
Yeah,
that still matters.
Yeah, the athleticism is not there anymore for Golden State. It's just it's really not. That was definitely one of the reasons that opposed to being in the championship every year, as they usually are. Obviously, this year it's a second round playoff exit in 6 games at the hands of the Los Angeles Lakers. But yeah, definitely not the same team, and be very interested to see what they do. Do they keep it together, try one more time, or do they break it up and go in another direction?
Or maybe something in between the two, where they maybe move on from 1 or 2 of the veterans while trying to bring in. That's probably the thing I would try to do. I would probably try, to figure out a way. And I've said this before, I talk about rebuilding. When you're retooling.
Right.
When you're tooling a contender, you're trying not to go ahead and just flat out be bad. It's essentially trying to repair an airplane while it's flying.
Right, yeah.
And it is the hardest thing to do as a GM, actually. Like, when you're coming up from the bottom, like, that's a challenge, but at least you've got all this flexibility because you aren't expected to contend. You don't have a bunch of expensive superstars on the roster. And when your team is, the Nuggets are in a great situation. Their best players are all essentially in their peak. Nobody is, by NBA standards, overpriced.
Yeah.
I mean, the contracts are NBA reasonable, I guess is the term I would use.
Right.
And they seem to have fantastic team chemistry on top of everything else.
Yes.
So
for sure.
That's kind of the ideal. Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, my fault, Bill.
No, go ahead. I was done.
So Golden State, they don't know what they have. They don't know if they got Draymond back. I just say screw it with Jordan Poole. Like they don't know what is gonna happen. They make a trade with, and I don't know if this even makes them more athletic. Honestly, they make a trade Jordan Poole, Charlotte's first round pick. So they trade Jordan Poole. They get Charlotte's first round pick. They get PJ Washington, and then they get Kelly Oubre back on that squad for Jordan Poole, possibly. I hate it.
Mm-hmm.
It was like the only thing I was like, that's the only team I could see Jordan Poole, Charlotte actually get. Like Charlotte, that could be one player Charlotte picks that they could probably get for a decent price, and they could see maybe him working with LaMelo. Because that's the only thing I could think of.
No, I don't hate. I'm mulling it. I mull it. Is the term.
I'm not sure if I would give up the second pick for Jordan Poole, but I'd probably give up. You said PJ Oubre and yeah, I'd probably give those two guys, and maybe like if they had like another first round pick, I'd probably do that. That probably works well for both sides. Charlotte puts Poole with LaMelo Ball, and then Golden State, they pick up PJ Washington and Oubre, two decent pieces to help the rotation, and now they have an extra draft pick.
Help me out. Do the Warriors still have their could they pick swap perhaps instead of? They don't have to remember they still have their own first.
Think so?
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, the Warriors have their own first round pick still.
I think they do.
I think they do too. So I wonder if maybe a pick swap as opposed to picking up the first. Maybe they swap first.
That actually that might work. Maybe if you swap first. Yeah, it's gonna be tough because Charlotte I don't think wants to give up a second pick. But like something like that, I especially with the players you included, I think that's the common trade that's probably what it's gonna be for Jordan Poole.
Yeah, it's either that, and then it's that, or the only other team. I just see Jordan Poole possibly even going to Chris. Nah, he can't go there. His play style doesn't fit there. Like he can't handle the ball, so he needs somewhere with a guard where they're just more of a dominant guard that can get him the ball in spot.
Mm-hmm. That's the cast, the places where you can send him. He's just not a good enough ball handler that a team can treat him as their secondary ball handler, right? Which is what he should be. You look at him and say, "Oh, this guy could be our secondary." Until you see him try to do that, it's like, "Oh, no, he can't."
Yeah, he's a guy. He has the range. He can shoot the ball. He obviously has his nights. He can pass the ball a little bit. He's not a bad ball handler, but I'm not sure if he can be your primary guy. So for him, you gotta find the right spot for him. If you're a team, looking to trade for him, you gotta make sure he fits in. He can fit in as like your number 2 ball handler, who's a pretty good shooter, can give you 17, 18, maybe 20 points a game.
Should not trade, and they should keep him as long as they can. I want everybody to get paid somewhere else. He's leaving. Kevin Looney.
Yeah, Kevin Looney. He was a beast on the boards in the playoff. He's a very good rebounder. I'd probably keep him. Yeah, they so they could have at least some rim protection. They'd really miss his rim protection.
Yeah. Let anybody get paid by somebody else. You pay him a decent amount and keep.
Yeah, I would not move Kevon Looney. I heard they're looking to move Kuminga.
I mean, I'm gonna say he's underpaid because that's not true. But I mean, it for the value, I guess. For the value,
yeah.
His contract makes a lot of sense to me. So yes, I would definitely do whatever possible to keep hold of him. Plus, he's essentially in his peak, in his prime, which you cannot say about too many other players they have on there.
Yeah, they're a much older team.
You want to bring in more guys like him. You don't want to lose guys like him.
what's the name that they had go to the G League and then come back and then go to the G League, come back? The dude that was injured. Isn't that Kaminga? Is it Kaminga?
Yeah, Jonathan Kaminga. I heard they're looking to move him as well. I'm not sure if they'll pull the trigger. I heard they were he's on a trade block apparently. You know, wow, a lot of moving parts in Golden State.
You know, and once again, it's the old what can you get for it? Well, I mean, there are plenty of teams that might give you something.
I think someone I think would take Kaminga. He was a high pick. Not that long ago, he's still young, but like he hasn't played that much. Like, what's his value?
Right. I mean, because he's still a fall for X is what he's actually going to be.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So yeah, that's basically all I got for basketball. For football, DeAndre Hopkins had his visit with the Patriots. I heard he's taking his time to decide on his next team. Before the Patriots, he met with the Titans. So we'll see what he does. I heard the Raiders are expected to sign Marcus Peters before training camp, which I think is a good idea. A little older, but still a good corner. They could use help in the secondary. The defense was really bad last year. It's been bad for a while. Yes. Yeah, it's.
They haven't been good since Woodson was in his prime.
Yeah, they haven't been good in a while. It's like their defense. I don't think is ranked above like 23rd, maybe one time since like they drafted Derek Carr, like 2014.
They struggled on defense for an entire decade.
Yeah, they need a lot they can get. Yeah, he might be heading to Vegas, play for the Raiders, and other than that, congratulations to Wyndham Clark for winning the U.S. Open yesterday. Finished at 10 under par. He's your champ, and that's all I got for you guys today. Thank you, Bill, and thank you, Pushin, for coming on. We had a nice conversation about about basketball and what the offseason might look like. Until next time, so long. Have a great day.